What's up, ladies and gents? It's your boy Lou Streets, and I am back with another video. And as I'm sure you guys have heard by now, there has been some news that's kind of rocked the Tekken community, for better or worse, to be honest. I don't think that anybody feels good about this. I definitely don't. But it turns out that Harada's son is stepping down at the end of this calendar year. I'm recording this video on December the 8th, as this news got announced today. So that means pretty much in 3 weeks he'll be gone. I want to read this lengthy article and share some thoughts. It's on IGN. So let's go ahead and get this started. Harada has announced his departure from Bandai Namco, having worked on Tekken series for the past 30 years. The 55-year-old Japanese video game developer legend, who worked on all the Tekken games right up until last year's Tekken 8, said in a statement posted to social media that the loss of close friends in his personal life and the retirement or death of senior colleagues had caused him to reflect on the time he had left as a creator. Advice from Ken Kutaragi, the father of PlayStation, supported Harada in making the decision. He said, Harada failed to reveal what he plans to do next, but he did not say that he was retiring. Harada has had somewhat a fraught relationship with the Tekken series and indeed Bandai Namco in recent years, and has spoken openly about the development difficulties he's endured while at the company. Most recently, Tekken 8 has caused a great deal of friction between the players and the development team, and Harada has stepped in multiple times on social media to address fan concern. This is something that he's most known for. It's also something that we criticize Ed Boon for when it comes to the Mortal Kombat franchise. Harada always keeps it real, and now that he's stepping down, we wonder how that's going to be handled going forward. But let's continue. Perhaps the most high-profile example of this came in October last year when Harada addressed a row over the sale of premium DLC stage for Tekken 8 after fans accused Bandai Namco of corporate greed. His explanation for the DLC stage basically came down to his role on Tekken within Bandai Namco and his separation from the business side of the operation to focus on development. This structural setup was a mistake Harada admitted in a tweet he eventually deleted, and he confirmed plans to reorganize not only the Tekken business, but his role within it to ensure community expectations were met in the future. Here's what Harada said at that time. The Tekken project is divided into two companies, a game development studio and a publisher that is responsible for game sales. At the time of development and release of Tekken 7, the development and publishing companies were not separate. As some of you may know, I have moved to the development studio side a few years ago and have been focusing on maximizing the quality of the content, tech, graphics, and etc. The development side and publishing side each have their own roles, and there are differences in the way they think and the responsibilities. I, who should be able to act as a bridge between the two, have not been able to properly participate in the publishing decision-making process for Tekken. And as a result, I think that there were parts of the process that did not take the Tekken community's opinion into account. I think I failed to create an organizational structure that will allow me to oversee things beyond my own position. Let's continue. One of my roles was to listen to the opinions of the community and reflect them not only in the content but also in the outgame. But I was clearly becoming passive, worrying about the relationships between companies and not exercising my role. From now on, I will review this structure and change it to one that adds value to the community as it did in the past. It was typically a frank statement from Harada, who was never shy to criticize his paymasters at Bandai Namco over their management of Tekken and the company's various fighting game franchises. In June last year, for example, Harada was remarkably candid in discussing why Soul Calibur disappeared and has spoken about trying and failing to get KFC mascot Colonel Sanders in the Tekken, which is hilarious that he would even address that, right? Here's his exit statement in full in regards to the tweet that he put out earlier today, right? So this is over on his account. I have that pulled up right here as well, but I'd rather just read it from here because you see on the Twitter side, it's not spaced properly. So I'm going to read it over here instead where it's spaced a little bit easier for me to read, right? So let's go back to the top of this. I like to share that I'll be leaving Bandai Namco at the end of 2025. With the Tekken series reaching its 30th anniversary, an important milestone for a project I devoted much of my life to, I felt this was the most fitting moment to bring one chapter to a close. My roots lie in the days when I supported small local tournaments in Japanese arcades and in small halls and community centers overseas. I still remember carrying arcade cabinets by myself, encouraging people to please try Tekken, and directly facing the players right in front of me. The conversations and the atmosphere we shared in those places became the core of who I am as a developer and a game creator. Even as the times change, those experiences have remained at the center of my identity. And even after the tournament scene grew much larger, many of you continue to treat me like an old friend, challenging me at venues and inviting me out for drinks at bars. Those memories are also deeply precious to me. In recent years, I've experienced the loss of several close friends in my personal life and in my professional life. I witnessed the retirement or passing of many senior colleagues who I deeply respect. Those accumulated events made me reflect on the time I have left as a creator. During that period, I sought advice from Ken Kutaragi, who I respect as though he were another father, and have received invaluable encouragement and guidance. His words quietly supported me in making this decision. Over the past 4 to 5 years, I've gradually handed over all of my responsibilities, as well as the stories and world building I oversaw to the team, bringing me to the present day. Looking back, I was fortunate to work on an extraordinary variety of projects, VR titles such as Summer Lesson, Pokken Tournament, the Soul Calibur series, and many others, both inside and outside the company. Each project was full of new discoveries and learning, and every one of them became an irreplaceable experience for me. To everyone who has supported me, to communities around the world, and to all the colleagues who have walked alongside me for many years, I offer my deepest gratitude. I'll share more about my next steps at a later date. Thank you very much for everything. Let's see if he said anything different on the back of his Twitter. No, pretty much. Okay, he added this right here, but here's some postscript. He said, although I will be leaving the company at the end of 2025, Bandai Namco has asked me to appear at the TWT finals at the end of January 2026, so I expect to attend as a guest. For 30 years, I kept saying I'll do it someday and never once performed as a DJ at a tournament event. So instead, I'll be releasing for the first and last time a 60-minute Tekken DJ style non-stop mix, a DJ mix, personally edited by myself, together with this announcement. Listening to it brings back many memories. Thank you again sincerely for all these years. And here's the mix right here. So I'm going to check this out. I might actually put this on some of my streams because that's pretty cool. Let's see if the report has anything left. And we got a little bit more at the bottom. Harada joined Namco long before the acquisition that created the Bandai Namco we know today in the early 90s to work on Tekken's arcade versions, which always launched first before console ports were released. He spent much of his time visiting Japanese arcades to check how Tekken was being played out in the wild, essentially living at the office. At the time, Harada was a junior member of staff, but over the course of several years, he worked his way up the chain to become the director of Tekken and face of the franchise, attending community events while wearing his trademark sunglasses and making a fist as a reference to Tekken's tagline, the king of the iron fist for photo ops. In 1998, Tekken 3, which is considered by many to be one of the greatest fighting games of all time, was the first Harada worked on as a director and smash hit, selling at least 8.36 million PlayStation copies worldwide. It became the PS1's fifth best-selling game ever, ahead of the likes of Tomb Raider, Metal Gear Solid, and Resident Evil 2. Harada's exit comes at a crossroads for Tekken. Tekken 8 sold 3 million copies a year from release, according to Bandai Namco, which said the game was selling at a faster pace than Tekken 7. But we haven't had a sales update since January of 2025, I'm assuming, and Bandai Namco has yet to announce DLC characters for potential Season 3. Will Bandai Namco release a Tekken 9 anytime soon? So the reason, let me go ahead and full screen this thing now we're done reading, right? So the reason that I wanted to read that is because, you know, and Harada shared this talking about, you know, senior colleagues that have either passed on or retired from the industry and things like that, right? But I think one of the saddest things about this is it's kind of crazy because on one hand, you want to create a legacy that like lasts much longer than you. So obviously Harada has done that with Tekken. At the same time, as me, like a creator who, you know, works on my content and stuff like that, it's hard to watch somebody step away from their life's work, you know what I'm saying? And granted, he could have a new venture. Who's to know how that new venture is received? Maybe he could just ride off into the sunset. But I think it's something about having your life's work and you have to kind of step away from it and put it in the hands of others, because when it comes to money, more Tekkens are going to be made. The question is, we haven't had the most promising representation from people on the publishing side. And obviously with Harada stepping away to give us full transparency on things, I could only see this going negative in the future. And anytime that there's an issue that's not received well or not being addressed, that's gonna make the community kind of like turn on the game to some extent. And I think the thing that's tricky for me is that when Harada sees that happen, and he doesn't step in because he doesn't represent this company anymore, I wonder how does that make him feel on a personal level, you know, because this is still his life's work. This is still his baby. This is still something that he cares about. And having to step away from it, or maybe not feeling that he has full creative control in the areas that he would like, which probably behind the scenes plays some role in this decision, I just wonder how that feels. So it sucks because I'm just really getting into Tekken. Tekken 8, obviously played Tekken 7 for like a couple years, but really Tekken 8 is kind of like the game that I enjoy. So I wonder, as somebody who's new to the franchise and really enjoy what I've experienced recently with this game, even with some of the gripes, I wonder how does this feel for the legacy players? Because going forward, if there's any issue, we're all gonna kind of be like, oh, if Harada was around, that wouldn't happen. If Harada was around, this would have been communicated better, you know what I'm saying? If Harada was around, there wouldn't be these microtransactions and all these different things. So it's like, Tekken has this great thing to me, or to some of us who enjoy it, but with Harada stepping away, you can almost expect it to get worse just based on emotional attachment. I'm sure there are some people in the building who really love that franchise and want to see it do well and don't want to try to exploit every single dollar and every single money grab possible. But at the same time, without Harada's integrity in the building, I just got a feeling this is I just worry, you know, I worry. And the thing is, for him to make that decision right now and for it to be at the end of this year and to be the 30th anniversary, all that does sound good in hindsight, in theory. But I would almost guess or bet that if he had logical reason to stick around, he would. You know, I'm sure his colleagues and all that play a role, but I think if the franchise communication, or that bridge he was trying to be in the middle between the dev side and the publisher side, I think if all of that was on the up and up and in the perfect spot where it needed to be, or he had the full creative control or reach or influence that he would feel is due to him, I wonder would he make the same decision? And we have no way of knowing that answer. So it's just like, what does the future of Tekken look like? You know, how much of his imprint is going to be on things going forward? Maybe things that he's already, like, you know, stamped in the process. How much of that is going to be going forward? Or is it going to, are we going to look up in a year and Tekken is almost going to be unrecognizable when it comes to microtransactions and characters being sold and stages being sold and different things like that? Or will they try to make sure that they stay in line with what the community desires? Because that's been the biggest gripe over the past year and some change with the release of Tekken 8, right? And now that Harada's gone, it's almost like everybody's going to be anticipating negativity, because we're going to say, oh, Harada wouldn't have did that. Oh, that wouldn't happen if Harada was around, or, you know, or even with some, or even he could have communicated the transparency, because we've already had things happen while he's around. And when it comes to Mikey just blocks everybody, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, who's the scapegoat now of anything? Who's the communicator of anything going forward? So that is something that I worry about. But at the same time, in a moment of sadness, hoping that, you know, Harada drops something new, or he just has peace with whatever he's doing going forward, I really hope that he has peace with this decision. It's a little bit sad on our end as the consumers, but I think that's just selfishness, because at the same time, he's dedicated 30 years of his life to what Tekken has became. And so I just hope that if he comes back with another venture, it'll be something dope. And if he doesn't come back with anything, I hope that he's at peace with his decision. But at the same time, as a person who plays Tekken on a daily basis, I have some genuine worry. And I mean, I'm going to be optimistic, but when we see the first sign of trouble, the first thing we're going to think is Harada wouldn't have done that, Harada wouldn't have allowed that, Harada wouldn't have said that, Harada would have communicated to us. So I wonder if you guys feel the same way. Let me know what you think in the comments, but just wanted to cover this because I'm genuinely shocked that this is some news that we received today, and I hope that this isn't the beginning of the end of Tekken. I'm not being dramatic by saying that. I mean, like, going down the road Tekken 9 games coming forward. I hope the people that are allowed to be on those projects have the genuine care about the legacy and history of it as Harada does, because that's the only way that it's going to stay a quality product. I hope that it doesn't turn into like a money grab, corporate greed type of thing, because if it does, we're in for a rude awakening over the next few years, man. So with that being said, I'm gonna wrap this video up. So the next time it's your boy Lou Streets, I am out. Peace. Once again, thank you to Harada son for all you've done with the Tekken community. I am newer to it, but I 100% appreciate the legacy and the history and the lore and playing when I was a young child, but that was just when I was mashing buttons. Now I'm really invested in Tekken 8. So with that being said, we're gonna wrap this one up and I'm gone. Till the next time, peace.